Let's summarize the module. And we did cover a lot, but one thing that should now be very clear is the number of different forms that DOS attacks can come in, particularly when we look at layer 4 in the OSI model, that transport layer. So the layer where we're talking about protocols such as TCP and UDP. There's quite a broad range of different attacks that can happen at that level. One of the things we saw that greatly increases the effectiveness of these attacks is amplification. So we looked at amplification via DNS. And the advantage to the attacker here was the ability to make a small request which resulted in a large response being sent to the target site. It wasn't just DNS that could do this. We looked at SNMP, NTP, and SSDP as well. So there are various different protocols that enable that small request to be turned into something much larger and then directed to the target site. And finally, we talked about real-world attacks, particularly the attack on GitHub and Encapsula's client. The GitHub one was interesting because it relied on a man-in-the-middle attack exploiting unencrypted traffic, which then caused all of these otherwise very innocent users around the world to mount a man-on-the-side distributed denial of service attack against those two GitHub repositories. The Encapsula example was interesting because it involved a SYN flood attack, an HTTP flood attack, and then bots capable of behaving like normal browsers, all the while adapting to try and circumvent the defenses that Encapsula was putting in place. That was a great example of how a DOS attack can be a very protracted exercise and how it can continue to evolve even as the defenders attempt to fight it off. So that's attack techniques. We covered a lot, and I hope that gives you a really good idea of just how these denial of service attacks are mounted in the real world. Let's now move on to the next module and start talking about the tools and services used in DOS attacks.